Actress, model, author, and entrepreneur Brooke Shields grew up in the spotlight, and she has remained a household name ever since.
Yeah, now she's pulling back the curtain on what her life was really like in the two-part documentary, Pretty Baby. Brooke Shields. Take a look.
How do you feel about all this fuss that's being made over you?
I think it's kind of fun.
You really are an exquisite-looking young lady. I know you've been told that, but isn't she a pretty girl?
The entirety of my life, it was, she's a pretty face. Over and over and over and over and over again. And that always just seared me.
You just didn't go anywhere that somebody wouldn't know Brooke Shields.
The most photographed woman in the world.
Iconic American beauty.
Object of desire. A sexualized child model.
Exploitation.
Vulnerable. I was on the cover of Time magazine as the face of that whole era.
Who decides that?
She was catapulted into the world of adult sexuality. I just always remember thinking, like, I hope she's okay. She was a young girl in an all-adult world.
I'm amazed that I survived any of it.
All right.
Oh, my gosh.
We've been talking about this documentary. We've been waiting for you to come here. We're so happy that you're here. But what you just said at the end of the clip struck both Jenna and I, that you're amazed you survived this.
Yeah, the word
that
survive.
statement is so heavy and weighty. What did you mean by that?
And thrive, too. I mean, when you see what I was put up against from the time I was quite young, and you see it, you can see it in my face, too. Yeah. I start to just disassociate.
Yes, you could tell.
I was protecting myself without even knowing what I was doing.
What
it was
did
just
you
all
have to
so
survive?
much.
Like, what were the things?
Just scrutiny and vitriol and anger and pitchforks and blame and hatred to my mother and, you know, and it was like all of this stuff. I was always on the defensive, always. Yeah. Defend your mother, protect your mother, just, no, I'm really a good girl, I'm really a nice girl, I'm and it was just like...
Trying to convince people, I feel like.
And also, I've got to watch this, Hoda and I both did, and we were astounded, I was astounded by the fact that also people came to you thinking they knew you. Like, we got to see all of these interviews with mainly men in the documentary that would say, but you're this way. And it was like you weren't allowed to be nuanced. You weren't allowed to be you. You had to be either sexy or a virgin or this or that.
I mean, there's one that doesn't make it into the documentary, but there was this woman who asked me the same question repeatedly. And I finally, you see me, I must be 13, and I say, I'm so sorry, ma'am, but I don't think you want my answer because I keep answering it and I don't have any other truth. And, you look at that and you think, okay, that was a kid that was searching for her own truth.
Well, and I also think a kid searching for her own voice. I felt like you were seeking it. And as a kid, often we're pleasers. Are they happy? Are they happy? Is the interviewer happy? Is the person sitting next to me happy?
Are my parents happy?
Are your parents happy?
But how it as women, we really do it.
How long did it take? And do you remember when that you decided, like, this is me? Like when you feel that settling inside you?
I think it's been at times different parts. Like going to university was huge for me because I didn't know that I could think. I didn't know that I could have an opinion about something. That the way I regarded a piece of literature was my own opinion. And so that was the first thing, and that sort of happened.
You're like, I'm smart. I learned that. And
then after that, it was. Basically, Suddenly Susan and Broadway, because those were the things that I found my talent on my own terms. And about so much more than just looks. There was something else in it, and I like bloomed from that. So that was, and then, you're having families and kids. You sort of think you keep realizing more about yourself.
The looks part was actually really hard to sort of swallow because you were told from the time you were a baby, and you are beautiful, that you were this one thing. You actually say in the documentary you wouldn't even look at yourself in the mirror.
In fact, I would take dance class and fall all the time because you're supposed to spot. You're supposed to look at yourself, and I would just...
What did you see when you looked?
I didn't even know what I saw. I just knew I wasn't going to see what other people saw. So it was like, I'm going to be disappointed. So they'd say, well, do you like your hair and makeup? And I'd be like, yeah, it's great.
Looks perfect.
Let's
move on.
Good. I'm not, that's arrogant. That's self, that's ego. But
it's also because you heard from everybody, you're this one thing.
Right.
And you're a pretty baby. You're a beautiful girl. And you were much more than that.
My mother called me a piece of art. Like, really? But she believed it.
Now, I think that your mom, that's an interesting topic, because I think a lot of people would expect you to say, how could you have done that to me, Mom? How did you put me through that? But that was not your mantra at all. Was there any part of you, or is there any part of you, as you reflect now as a mom yourself, like, was that the right thing?
Oh, absolutely. But as a mother, I look at it. Yeah. Do you know? But as a daughter, I was so busy trying to keep her alive and protect her against the world. And she was an alcoholic. So there's that really, you know, and that people-pleasing piece. So I was in that role with her, you know, and she was so broken. And even as a child, I had, like, not pity in a bad way, but like respectful pity, if there is such a thing. Like,
you were worried about her.
I was just like, oh, what a shame. Like, you have demons, and I don't want you to. So I kind of was just like, she thought she was doing the right thing. You know, a lot of her decisions I would have not made. Right. Well, I wouldn't make today for my girls. But I wasn't a mother then, you know?
Yeah, it's so interesting because there was so much responsibility on you, too, because she was a single mom. Yeah. You were working to really support the both of you at the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
not only were you worried about her mental health and all of that, but also financially.
Well, and also my mom was so proud. You know, she refused alimony from my father. Wow. And, you know, she was Terry, and she just said, educate this kid. Put her through school. So it was like, I had this, you know, she was like, I'm going to make this kid have an education. So
we're going to speak a lot more with Brooke. We're going to ask you, because sometimes when you look back on your life, you think to yourself, oh, if that didn't happen or that didn't happen, I'd be better off. I don't know what your answer is, but we'll take a break and we'll ask you coming up right after this. We're back with the incredibly talented Brooke Shields. She's got a great new documentary. It's called Pretty Baby, Brooke Shields. We always talk about how Hollywood can be vicious and how there is all kinds of horrible stuff going on that only recently kind of came to light for everyone to see. When you were going through Hollywood, I know you were protected, your mom was there, but were there things that happened to you during that time that were just troubling?
Well, I didn't live in Hollywood. I lived in New York, so that helped. She kept everybody away from me. I was in a bubble. I mean, you know, I will say that being on the set was really difficult. It was really arduous. You know, there were 12, 14-hour days. Yeah. And, you know, and no one was really helping me through any of it from a performance standpoint. And so, you know, that was hard, you know, sort of learning that they didn't really care what you wanted to bring to the table. You know, that was the hard part. But I learned it so quickly and early that I thought, okay, I'm not gonna look to them for any kind of support, because I'm never gonna get it.
Hoda sort of alluded to this in the break, which is, you know, when you watch this documentary, you had both beautiful moments, but you had really hard ones too. If you could, would you sort of wipe it clean and erase?
If you had a big eraser.
Or what would you erase?
I would only erase my mother's alcoholism, because that was such a constant source of agony for me. But all the other stuff put me in a position now, albeit quite a few years later, it took me long enough, but to be like, yeah, bring it on. You cannot throw me.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm here, and I am not going to be like, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Did you think as a kid that you could stop your mom from drinking?
Oh, yeah. Did
you try?
I mean, she was in rehab multiple times. I did my first intervention when she was...
How old were you?
I was 13.
Yeah.
And she said the kiss of death, which is, fine, I'll go, but I'm going for you, not me. And I thought that was amazing.
Totally.
I was like, yes,
I did it.
I did it.
Not lasting.
It's like the first thing in like Al-Anon.
Let's talk about your kids who watched this documentary. I was trying to imagine if our kids were your kids' age, what they would imagine or think as they saw it. Was it difficult for them to see? They're both teenagers. How did they react?
My older one is 19, so she was able to say, women need to see this.
Yeah. Which is true.
And but again, you know, nothing existed before they were born. You know, they're your children. You did not have a life before they were born.
Were they kind of shocked by, I mean, you're famous, and I'm sure they've always known it, but by the sort of height of your fame.
Yeah, it was like the original, like, influencer, you know.
It's beyond.
Like, wow, you're, you know, and she looked at the strength.
Yeah, she got the strength.
Greer looked at it as all the things that I kept from her. And she was outraged, and she was very sad that anything, she said, nothing you say to me, Mom, is going to make it better. She said, I hate seeing bad things happen to you. Oh. And she just sobbed and ran out of the screening room.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was like, and my husband was upset because I wasn't protecting her. And I was just like, they're not interested in my life. Like, you know, and you can't, like, besides having, like, Suddenly Susan on a loop, you know, going, look at this one, I'm really funny. Look at Mom's funny. You know, like a crazy old movie star, you know.
But by the way, you have raised beautiful, smart, incredible women.
How about the end? Did that blow you away?
The fact
I was gobsmacked.
When
all of a sudden, I'm British.
Talk about that conversation. Gobsmacked. When was the last time you used that word?
Think ever.
What was it like to hear their take on it?
They had an opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course they did, because you taught them to use their voice.
Yes.
And they voiced it. And they were young women sitting in front of me having a debate. And it's so interesting because one of them was trying to protect me. The other one was immediately defensive. And I was like, no, this is a conversation. This is good. You're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was just... They were formidable in my eyes in the best way.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And one of them is going into modeling, which must feel kind of,
It's, you know, I fought it for so long, but she is so poised and stubborn. So in a way, I was like, oh, she's going to be fine.
She's going to be fine.
She's going to be just. If I was worried, I don't need to. But I'm going to steer her in the right direction.
Of course. Wow, this is incredible.
It's hard work modeling. You know? It's really hard.
Yeah.
This is an incredible documentary. It's got so many life lessons in it.
I think every mother should watch it.
Yeah.
People are identifying with it
in
so many different ways.
Yeah.
Not just the one. And it's so much more relatable than people think.
It really
it's just
is.
that mine was played out on this, like, jazz hands phase on the stage.
It is beyond fascinating, and I think it'll change a lot of people's minds about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooke. And you can check out Pretty Baby, Brooke Shields. It's streaming now on Hulu. Do not miss it.
Don't miss it.
Do not miss it.
All right.